You're about to realize something that's been right in front of you this whole time. And when you do, you'll never look at your messages, your memories, or your mirror the same way again. There is someone in your life who feels more than they've ever admitted. Someone who studies your tone, someone who replays your laughter in their head, someone who knows the exact moment your energy shifts. And the truth is, you would never guess it, because the person who's in love with you isn't the loudest. They're not the most obvious. They're not the one flooding your phone with heart emojis or dramatic confessions. Love, real love, is quieter than that. It hides behind restraint. It disguises itself as just checking in. It pretends to be casual. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. The first letter of their name already lives in your mind. You felt it the moment I said that. A face flickered. A memory surfaced. Maybe it was someone you dismissed. Maybe someone you friend-zoned. Maybe someone you thought was just being nice. Psychology tells us something powerful about attraction. The person who invests the most emotional attention is rarely the one demanding validation. They're observing, learning your patterns, noticing what drains you, noticing what lights you up. They're quietly adjusting themselves around you. And you might be overlooking them because they feel safe. We are wired to chase uncertainty. The brain releases more dopamine when something feels unpredictable. That's why the emotionally unavailable person can feel magnetic. That's why mixed signals feel intoxicating. But stable attention, consistent presence, it feels ordinary until it's gone. The one who's in love with you likely shows up in small ways. They remember details you forgot you told them. They defend you when you're not around. They subtly prioritize you without announcing it. They may even pull back sometimes, not because they don't care, but because caring too much without reciprocity is terrifying. Men and women express this differently, but the core psychology is the same. A man in love often becomes solution-oriented. He wants to fix your stress. He offers practical help. He positions himself as dependable. He might not confess feelings easily, especially if rejection threatens his pride, but watch his consistency. Watch who he makes time for. A woman in love often invests emotionally first. She asks deeper questions. She tunes into your moods. She creates emotional safety. She might test your interests subtly, trying to measure if she's safe to open up further. But here's the twist. Sometimes the person in love with you has already distanced themselves. Not because the feelings disappeared, but because unreturned love is heavy. It exhausts the nervous system. It creates silent heartbreak. And that's why this realization matters now. Because love isn't always loud. It doesn't always chase. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it watches. Sometimes it walks away quietly when it feels invisible. Think about the last person who did something thoughtful for you without expecting applause. The one who checks your stories quickly. The one who sends you things that reminded them of you. The one whose energy slightly changes when you talk about dating someone else. The first letter of their name just echoed again in your mind, didn't it? Your intuition already knows. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? Let me tell you something most people never admit out loud. The person who's in love with you is fighting a silent battle every single day. They are managing hope and protecting their ego at the same time. Because loving someone who doesn't clearly choose you is psychologically exhausting. It creates cognitive dissonance, the mind trying to balance. They care about me but they don't fully claim me. That tension drains energy. And eventually, something has to give. Here's what you were never taught. When someone is secretly in love with you, they start measuring their worth based on your reactions, your response time, your tone shifts, whether you initiate, whether you notice their absence. They don't want to do this, but the brain does it automatically. We are wired to track emotional safety. For men, especially in Western cultures like the US, UK, and Canada, pride and vulnerability collide. A man who truly loves often fears looking weak more than he fears losing the connection. So instead of confessing, he calibrates. He tests waters. He becomes cool. He pretends he's not that invested. But if you watch closely, his behavior contradicts his words. He shows up. He protects. He positions himself close to your life. For women, emotional exposure feels equally risky. When she loves, she imagines possibilities, futures, emotional depth. But if she senses hesitation from you, she pulls back subtly, not dramatically, just enough to preserve dignity. She becomes slightly less available, slightly less expressive. She waits to see if you'll close the gap. And here's the part that will sting. If you've been chasing someone unpredictable, the stable one may already feel themselves fading. Humans bond through reciprocity. When effort isn't matched, attraction slowly turns into self-protection. That's why the person who once texted first might now respond hours later. Not because they stopped caring, but because they're trying to detach before it hurts more. You might interpret that as loss of interest. It's often self-defense. There are signs you've probably missed. They remember conversations from months ago. They react strongly, even subtly, when you mention another romantic interest. They offer help even when it inconveniences them. They sometimes go quiet after being emotionally open. That silence isn't indifference, it's recalibration. And here's the deeper psychological truth. People don't fall in love because someone is perfect. They fall in love because someone feels emotionally familiar, safe, understood. You likely mirror something meaningful to them, a value, a wound, a vision of the future. That's why their attachment isn't random. But timing complicates everything. Maybe they think you're out of their league. Maybe they believe you're emotionally unavailable. Maybe they've convinced themselves you only see them as a friend. So they shrink their feelings to fit the space you've given them. Now I want you to think carefully. Has someone recently adjusted their energy around you? Slightly more distant, slightly more composed, less expressive than before? Love that isn't acknowledged doesn't explode. It cools. And sometimes, by the time you notice, it's already turning into acceptance. You don't lose people because they stop loving you. You lose them because they get tired of loving you quietly. The first letter in your mind just got clearer, didn't it? Now let's go deeper. The most dangerous thing about quiet love is this. It doesn't demand your attention. It waits for your awareness. And most people never become aware until they feel the shift. Here's what happens psychologically when someone realizes their love isn't progressing. The brain starts reducing emotional investment to protect identity. Attachment slowly converts into detachment, not overnight, gradually, like a dimmer switch turning down. At first, they stop overanalyzing your replies. Then they stop checking your status immediately. Then they stop imagining future scenarios. And one day, they stop hoping. That's the day you feel something change. Because humans are incredibly sensitive to energy withdrawal. When someone who once leaned toward you starts leaning back, your nervous system notices, even if your ego doesn't. This is when irony strikes. The moment the stable admirer begins emotionally stepping away is often the moment you start seeing them differently. Why? Because scarcity activates value perception. When something feels less accessible, your brain assigns it higher worth. That person who felt always there suddenly feels important. The conversations you once skimmed now feel meaningful. Their absence creates contrast, and contrast creates clarity. This is why so many people realize feelings too late, not because they never cared, but because they confused stability with boredom. In dating culture across the US, UK, and Canada, intensity is often mistaken for compatibility. Drama feels passionate, uncertainty feels exciting. But long-term attraction thrives on emotional safety, admiration, and mutual investment. The one quietly loving you likely offered those ingredients. They may have supported your goals, encouraged your growth, celebrated your wins without competition. That's not casual behavior, that's attachment behavior. And here's something most people never admit. Sometimes we ignore genuine love because it requires maturity. Real love asks you to choose, to show up consistently, to reciprocate, to be seen deeply. That level of emotional responsibility can feel heavier than chasing someone unpredictable. So you delay, you keep options open, you assume they'll stay, you believe there's time. But love unexpressed doesn't pause in place. It transforms. The person who once would have chosen you without hesitation may start valuing themselves differently. They may redirect that emotional investment inward. They may meet someone who sees what you overlooked. And when that happens, regret feels sharp. Because deep down, you knew. You felt their loyalty. You sensed their softness towards you. You recognized the subtle tension when others entered the picture, but you didn't act. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Are you drawn to emotional chaos because it distracts you from vulnerability? Are you mistaking adrenaline for connection? Are you overlooking the one who feels calm because calm doesn't trigger urgency? Love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's a steady flame, and you only notice its warmth when you step away from it. The first letter in your mind right now, it's not random. It's attached to patterns, moments, signals you've already collected subconsciously. The question isn't whether someone loves you. The question is whether you're emotionally ready to recognize it before it's too late. Here is the truth most people only learn after heartbreak humbles them. Love rarely announces itself with a spotlight. It reveals itself through patterns. The one who's in love with you has already shown consistency where others showed confusion. They've demonstrated patience where others played games. They've offered presence where others offered intensity without stability. And yet, you hesitated. Not because you're careless, not because you're incapable of love, but because choosing someone who truly sees you feels exposing. When someone genuinely loves you, they see your flaws and stay. That kind of acceptance removes your ability to hide behind performance. You can't pretend, you can't posture, you can't manipulate perception, you are simply seen. That level of visibility can feel terrifying. So instead, many people chase what keeps them slightly anxious, because anxiety feels active. It feels like effort. It feels like passion. But in reality, it's often insecurity disguised as chemistry. Meanwhile, the quiet admirer grows tired of waiting for clarity. They begin asking themselves hard questions. Why am I investing here? Am I valued or just convenient? Would they choose me if someone else walked in? And the moment self-respect outweighs hope, their energy shifts permanently. This is where you must become honest with yourself. Has someone consistently shown up for you without demanding applause? Has someone supported your growth without competition? Has someone treated you like a priority while you treated them like an option? If the answer unsettles you, good. Growth begins in discomfort, because here's the final psychological layer most people ignore. The people who love quietly often love deeply, and when they finally detach, they do it with discipline. They don't create chaos, they don't beg. They recalibrate internally. They move forward with composure. And when they do, you feel it. The text becomes shorter. The warmth becomes polite. The emotional availability becomes measured. That's not indifference. That's acceptance. You won't believe who's in love with you because you've normalized their presence. You assumed access. You mistook loyalty for permanence. But permanence is earned through mutual recognition. Right now, somewhere in your world, there may be someone deciding whether to keep choosing you or to finally choose themselves. And the first letter of their name, it's not shocking because it's unexpected. It's shocking because it's obvious. You knew. Your intuition whispered it during late-night conversations, during subtle jealousy, during the way they leaned in when you spoke about your fears. So now I'm asking you something real. If that person stopped showing up tomorrow, would you feel relief or would you feel loss? Would you fight for them or would your ego keep you silent? Be honest in the comments. What's the first letter that came to your mind when this video began? And if this message hit deeper than you expected, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this before they learn it the hard way.